Another Sunday scan coming at you. Thank you guys for tuning in. It should be a little bit shorter tonight just because I'm really zoned in on a lot less. And just right now, the market is really just get prepared, see charts, and just make sure you're there early. You want to get a feel for what's going on. One of the things that I do in the morning, we have live price alert features. So like I've talked about before, a lot of brokers have, price alerts and it comes to your phone, it texts you, whatever. That's great. But you end up seeing them at like 4:15 p.m. and it doesn't really do you any good. So we built a customized price alert real-time system right into the IU platform. So when you're in chat, not only do we have everything else that we programmed to come through, but in addition, you can get price alerts right there, right in front of you. And, it does a nice big car horn noise so that, you're not going to miss it. And that's really the goal because, like I said, a lot of times you get these alerts and then you don't see them until after the bell. So one of the biggest benefits with that is I can have 20 things on watch or be familiar with 20 things. And then in the morning, I find out what range it's in. And I want to know when it breaks this range. I want to know when it breaks this level. So I'll put a couple staggered alerts there and a couple staggered alerts a little bit lower. And then that way, if it's just bouncing around in between this level, I don't see it. I don't care. I don't waste time with it on one of my, screens where I could have something else that is going to be more profitable. So it's kept me out of trouble. It's kept me from trading stuff that's going sideways, and it's probably one of the best features that we've added within the last 6 to 8 months at IU. We're always adding new features every single week. Max is kind of brainstorming, listening to member feedback, and creating new things. So now the chat is starting to get smarter and smarter and smarter each and every single day. So before I go too far, this Saturday, April 11th, we're starting early, I think 8:30 a.m., and we're going to go through and as late as it needs to go, but 6 p.m., something like that. It's going to be free all-day event, and we've got over 25 speakers now, and it's going to be great. There's a lot of excitement about it. There's a lot of great people that I look up to, that I've gathered a lot of great information from the psychology side of things to the technical side of things. I mean, it's all covered. So the best part about it is, for those of you guys that have been to Traders for a Cause in Vegas, we started these things called Trader Talks. And most of you might have heard of a TED Talk. A TED Talk is basically, I think it's 8 to 12 minutes, 8 to 15 minutes, or it could be even less. It's as short as you can go to get the point across, and that's it. Get on, get off stage, and leave the audience like, wow, that was really good. And it encourages people to kind of want to ask more, find out more, approach that person after the fact. So the cool part about that is sometimes when you go to conferences, you have this speaker that's going on and on and on for an hour, hour and a half, and it might not be your thing, and the guy next to you might love it, and then the next one you love, they don't. And so what it does is it prevents you from having to sit through an hour, hour and a half presentation of, something you just, don't care about. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, some people like things, some people don't. And the best part about this is 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. And, that's it. So we're going to go rapid fire through a bunch of speakers. And the best part about it is it forces them to take everything they want to tell you in 40 minutes or 60 minutes and condense the most important points in 20. So we're going to be going with that same theme that we've always done at Vegas. And we're going to do action-packed. Everything's going to be recorded, so you can access it after if you've signed up. So if you didn't, make sure we'll put the list down into the description again. But make sure you're on the list. We're going to have a lot of people. We're already beyond capacity at this point, but make sure that you're on there to ensure you're going to be able to be on there, because we just are upgrading to the next level. And once we get to that capacity, that's it for the amount of live people. So if you're on the fence, or not that you need to be on the fence, it's free. But if you're thinking about it, make sure you sign up now so that you are on there, because at some point we may have to say, okay, you're going to just have to watch the replay. And last but not least, this is a totally free event. We're trying to pay it forward because we know that you're going to find so much value that, you know, by the end of it, you're going to say, I want to make a donation. So that's the catch, right? There's no catch other than we hope that you make a donation at the end of this. So everybody here that I approached agreed, was ready to do it. I mean, we're all at home, doing nothing anyway, so you might as well learn from somebody else. No matter who you are, you can always learn more. You can always learn a better way. You can always learn something that's going to help you in the week ahead. And that's the exact goal that I've told everybody that I've talked to about speaking. Think about what a trader that's listening can take from you that they can apply the next week and better their trading. And that should be the goal of every single presentation. And if you can take one thing from every single speaker, you're going to have 25 new things, maybe more, that is going to improve you as a trader. And I continually learn. I've talked about having, you know, Sang Lucci's desk is right here. I have a bunch of other traders that I trade with as well. But me and Sang jive. And when we go back and forth, our ideas are flowing, thought process is great, and we really kind of pull the best out of each other, and psychologically as well have improved, both of us. You know, after a dumb loss, something like that, just bam, you know, next trade. And, you know, we've talked a lot about in the past, you know, old Sang Lucci, who used to take major drawdowns. He was on the wrong side of a trade. This is before he went back to Puerto Rico, and, you know, all of a sudden he's out. And I'm like, man, that's Sang Lucci 2.0. And, you know, it was kind of a defining moment. Like, you know, the old Sang would have tried to fight this. And had he fought it, it would have been a $200,000 loss an hour later. But instead, new Sang pretty much scratched out at the end of it. So, at any rate, that's what we're doing on Saturday. Again, it's free. You have to be on the list. It's gonna be great. So anyway, the last video on YouTube, I hope you guys checked it out and you didn't just watch a minute or two. If you did, go back, watch it. Watch the entire thing. It's only 7 minutes. If you don't have 7 minutes and you only have 3, watch the first minute and the last 2 minutes. But I think you should watch the entire 7 minutes. Let me know what you guys think about it. You guys have asked for live trades, so I put a couple live trades out there with a bit of a twist. And I talked about the you know, how fast that money can disappear towards the end of it. So make sure you do check it out. And really the main thing here is that, you know, one person tweeted the other day about, you know, it's not much, but I donated $50. And that's always the general consensus. You know, it's only $50. It's not going to make a difference anyway. So I don't do it, right? But when we've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people that might be attending, up to 5,000, right? Do the math. If everybody does $50, 3,000 people, that's 150 grand. So we can make a huge impact within this community on Saturday if you attend, if you take something home from it, and if you want to help make a difference. So I hope to see you guys out there. Let's see. The Boeing thesis. I had posted that out on Twitter. Hopefully you guys saw that. This is going to have a lot of pressure for a long time, but basically the idea was that the oil price is going down, you know, completely takes out the thesis for selling new aircraft, because, you know, that was the main selling point. Efficient on oil, on burning gas anyway, oil. And they might as well just dust off the old planes and fill them up with cheap gas at this point. As well as other people walking away from, you know, purchase orders, because it's probably cheaper just to get sued for breach of a contract than to actually follow through and, you know, buy $1 billion plane. Other than that, just to re-hit what we've talked about a lot, you know, I don't think that there's too much difference between the last couple of weeks and what we've been talking about. What's been working has been working really, really well. The biggest change that I've made into, I guess, 2020 is, you know, I don't need to be there pre-market. I don't need to be aggressive pre-market. I've started into a couple things pre-market without size, and I've been fortunate that it's not with any size, right? You know, AMRN, USO, forget what it was the other day. APOP, a couple other things. Front side. There's no reason to be aggressive. You know, for me as a trader, you know, I have to be in the stock. I have to be in any particular name, even if it's just a little bit. And instead of just, you know, kind of looking all around and focusing on different things, I'm now zoned in. And once I'm zoned in, even if it's a couple hundred shares, I can then get a feel for what's going on in the market, and I'm more focused than if I didn't have a position at all. So that's just something that works for me. But for some, if they start in like that, sometimes they're mispositioned. They don't know how to handle it, right? So I might take 500 or 1,000 on the front side, but my goal is going to be 5 or 10 or 20,000 shares. But I like to get in there just to have a little piece. So with that said, I've been behaving, you know, pre-market, and it's been crucial because there's so many times you can form a bias and, you know, just take too much attention and focus away from other ideas off the open, and you miss them all. And there are days where you have an A+ setup right out of the open. 930, 931, 932. And then there's 3 days, I would say the last 2 weeks, 3 out of 5 days had nothing for A+ setups. Later on in the day they did, but not right off the open. And had I tried to force something right off the open, I would have missed those other opportunities. I would have been pre-exhausted. I would have been on the wrong side of the trade. I would have been fighting it. But instead, you know, I identified, just like we do on the morning call every morning. These are my 2 to 3, 4 main watches, usually a max of 4. And this is what I'm looking to do. This morning, there's no A+ setups. There's nothing I'm looking to react to right out of the open. However, if this happens, this is what I'm looking to do. And that's been the key, right? You don't have to force anything off the open if it's not happening. So, again, to go back to the price alerts, one other note that I had, there's thousands of stocks moving right now. So zone into what works for you. It doesn't have to be what I trade. If you are better at a $2 to $5 range, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 50 plus, whatever it may be, there's plenty of it. And I always try to, you know, to have a little bit of each category for traders in the scans. So narrow that down and, you know, really just zone in and focus on what works for you and you only. If you don't know, paper trade for a while and see like, okay, you know, this works. This one I keep on losing. Every time I try to find the top or try to short, I lose. Okay. But every time I'm joining this trend and for a breakout and I'm long, you know, I'm making a lot of money. Okay. Focus on that. And then start to go 100 shares of real money. Then go 200, 500, 1,000, whatever it may be. And as you progressively step up, you know, you're going to be learning with the same emotions, right? You know, just like everybody thinks the fix is, I just need to be over pattern J trade rule. I just need to wire in 50K and it would be a lot easier. It's not always the case. There's different emotional, you know, aspects, roller coaster type effects that happen as you are you know, getting more and more size. So you can't just, you know, more buying power, all set. No. Because then you're like, whoa, should I be in this size? This is not what I was planning on. And we talked a little bit about that in the Dr. Brett interview. So last couple things before we get into scan, filter out the callers, excuse me, filter out, you know, we're going to 200, we're going to 170, we're going to 250, you know, on the SPY. Stop trying to figure out where it's going to go. You don't need to right now. We're in a trader's market. So just take what you can, take the meat of the move. One other piece that has been important for me is having those wish orders out there. Like the last video I did on USO, there was a lot of covers that I might not have actually covered had I not been there. So looking left, kind of saying, okay, here was the prior support. So if it flushes out there, I probably should lock some in. If it goes down to this level, I'd lock in the rest, whatever it may be. Put those orders out there. Because a lot of times you'll see it go whoop and then comes right back up. And if you weren't there, you'd now have that same size. You'd be upset. You'd start to get emotional and you might turn that into a loser. So that's about it. Focus, wait for your thesis to play out, wait for that confirmation, wait for it to come on your side, and the VWAP video that I've been talking about the last couple days has been crucial to the types of trades that I've been making lately. So let's jump into scan. Codex, CODX had FDA news after hours. This was actually pretty much toast coming into midweek, right? And then it kind of bounced up, which, the chart was fading off, and, looking left, it pretty much held this support right here to almost the penny. And then it bounced up. There was a little bit of some news or some stuff that circulated, which is always great because it pops up and then everybody gets short again. And it was fading off again. And then all of a sudden, after hours on Friday, FDA news, and shorts are trapped. And not only just shorts from prior days, but then they kind of let it hang out around this level. You can see the wicks that we talk about. Then they let it hang out over this level. You can see the wicks that we talk about. And they just kind of staircase it up. So I traded this one. I got a good entry. Amp alerted in the room. TradeHawk posted the reason why it was going. And so I got long. I sold some of it, and I held the rest over. I'm thinking that, if they trapped in the 11s, the 1050s, 11s, then maybe we get a 12, 13 type open. They know how to trap. They know how to squeeze stuff out, but I don't want to get too bullish. So maybe a 12, 13 morning. And then look for failed fall through momentum cautiously. I'd be patient. Let's see what happens with that action. So, other than that, USO, we've got the meeting. I don't even know what time it is on Monday. I'll find that out in the morning. But great trader, huge volume, huge opportunities. You can scale as large as you're comfortable with on something like this. Just be aware of when certain headlines are due. Be aware of 2:30 p.m. oil closes. So a lot of times you'll see some action right there. It could be just a total random rip or a pullback, but it's important to be familiar with it and know. Rarely ever do I mention it because we're not typically trading oil, but when you've got volume and you've got range, it's good to know, hey, at 2:30 p.m. every day, I need to be, aware that it could, jump around. Just like on days when there's inventories and things like that, that's another thing that you need to be aware of. And I think that's 10:30 a.m. on particular days. But I always would check the calendar in the mornings just to kind of be familiar when that might happen. So USO, depending on how it opens, I'd love another gap up and potential fade. But pretty big move. Obviously headline driven on Friday. But reactive trade for me. I'm not looking to make a full plan right now. I want to be familiar. Let's see how it opens. I'd start to put, breakout, probably like a 605, 620, 650 alert, 580s, 550s, just in case I'm trading something else and I end up missing it. I'll be alerted at those certain key levels. NVAX, nice, steady, slow grind. It's holding up. The daily is great. I wouldn't, step in front of this and think that it has to pull back, but it very well could. You can see that there's been a steady buyer in the same wicks that we talk about. So we're approaching prior highs. Should be cautious of the fact that it could continue to break out, but 9:45, 10 a.m. Plus, I think, is your friend. Is it holding over VWAP or is it fading? And in addition, just look for some type of parabolic move, some type of parabolic action. And if that is, if that does start to happen, then we might have a potential trade. And also mRNA, same kind of thing, getting slowly bid up. These kind of names took a break for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're back up towards the highs. So they both look bullish as hell, but as it could be, a gap up, a stuff and pullback. So my focus on scans is where is the volume, where is the range, where is the edge, and I don't want to trade low float stocks. I don't want to trade stocks that can be influenced by one newsletter saying buy, right? I want to do real trading, right? And so for me, that is looking left. You're coming up into some key levels. You close a little bit above it, and we might be on a nice squeeze breakout type situation where I could reactively trade it, or we might have a weak open and it fails off the open. I adapt and trade that failed follow through. So one of the best trades that's been working well right now is the failed follow through momentum, and that will continue to work well as long as the market stays heavy or sideways or whatever we end up doing. If the market decides to rebound 1,000 points, obviously I don't want to be looking to short every pop. I want to be looking for relative weakness, things like that. Couple on the failed follow through side of things. As you guys know, I like to organize scans. So you've got your main watches, you've got the failed follow through, continuation watches, things like that. So Ecor was a nice one. This one, this is kind of a know what you own situation, and they've got a great deal in there in the filings. So that's why I shorted it pre-market. I got short in the 170s pre-market. I didn't make it very far in ETC, but then I was patient in E-Trade. And then I ended up covering, and then I re-shorted back into the VWAP stuff, as was the goal. So once again, we talk about VWAP all the time and how it can be helpful. It's nice to get on the bottom of it for the fade and assume that it's going to use that level. Anytime it starts to go sideways, I always like to cover some into flushes, and then my goal is ideally it rips back up into VWAP and gives us an opportunity. So for those of you guys that are on Twitter, you saw me, right, in a perfect world, this thing, rallies and squeezes through VWAP and gives us a second chance to fade it. And that's exactly what it did. We were prepared for it. It ended up being a nice opportunity, and, went down under a buck after hours. So nice one. Overall, it should continue to have pressure. GSX, huge seller in here. Huge seller. Whether or not they continue on Monday, we'll see. Another foreign LK-ish style company that's got a huge market cap, been straight up, never pulls back, got all the writing on the wall as a potential next LK is what people are kind of saying, but you never know, and I wouldn't get too aggressive thinking that it's going to be just like that. But that is why there's pressure on it. Any of these recent IPOs, Chinese type companies, things like that, people are a little bit nervous. But I wish that, I was watching it the day before, and it faded off, and it ended up getting saved. And then I had it on watch, but I did not set a price alert, which is why I always need to set price alerts. But at any rate, clean move here. We talk about the basketball analogy on Tandem Trader. So if you think about like a basketball, how it dribbles, that's what I want to see when I'm looking to get short. I want to see it bounce, 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 and against some type of support. And then when it starts to dribble real fast, that's when it's getting close to the potential crack. And once it does, then I like to scale up. And so you've got that bounce, bounce, bounce against this floor. That floor gave out and it unwound. So I didn't get there until about this area, had a nice flush, trade around the core. Once again, use VWAP as your guide, and then nice unwind. So the meat of the move was earlier, still got a piece of it, but I want to watch this thing. And in this case, sometimes people ask me, what do you mean higher the better? If you're short, why do you want it to go higher? But say we close around 33, higher the better. I'd love to see this get back up towards 34. Higher the better. 34 to about 34.30s, 34.20s. That's the prior day's VWAP. Higher the better. And then I'd look for failed follow through and start to kind of fade it, basically. APOP was great. This is another one, just like Ecor, like we just talked about, right? Where you've got that nice shove late day. That's just short covers coming in. They don't want to hold over the weekend. They shorted the prior day when it had the big move, and they were being patient with the winner, and it finally got back over this 2 level, and they're like, still a good trade. I should probably cover. And so they went ahead and covered, and you get that nice late day juice into the 3 p.m. plus move. And anyway, offered a nice opportunity. So I'd be looking for the same thing. Any good push, look left. Ideally, higher the better, 230s. Look for fails off 230s. If it starts to ramp up towards 230s, starts to base and consolidate, don't fight it. It's a thin enough stock that it can, run you over. But, that's my first point of interest, 230s. And if I were to join at 210s, I'd want to be okay at 230s. I wouldn't want to be, covering at 230 if I just shorted at 210. I want to have a big picture idea, let it kind of jump around. And the only way in which I would cover is if it started to reform a base at a higher level. BSGM, we might have some fireworks on there. Nice move after hours. This was an idea later in the day. I got long right on the PR. I sold it like a piker. A little too early, but I got long the dips. And again, sold too early before, this action after hours, but that's okay. The biggest thing was don't chase the breakouts. Don't be, the guy that's anticipating that breakout. You don't need to do that in this market. Be patient, get a good entry. If you miss it, just wait, or I'd rather buy higher after it sets up better again than buy a breakout and get immediately met with, a pullback. If you look at every breakout on this, it was met with that kind of an exhaustion candle and it pulled back. So you were better off waiting every single time. IFRX, higher the better for a fade later, but this is one of those that I'm kind of I want to see how it trades because it had 25 million shares traded the other day. And sometimes I call this like a transitional day where, it pulled way back, but that might be what it needed to do to get all those dip buyers, everybody that's made a lot of money, that wasn't necessarily in, before the drop, but everybody that's been sitting in it for months, everybody that loaded over here, everybody that was long in the $2 to $3 range. Well, it gapped up to, 5 or 6. So why not let them kind of exhaust out? And then when you see that weakness, shorts get aggressive, they come in, and all of a sudden they caught it. They ended up soaking it all up. So this day might have actually positioned a lot of longs and attracted shorts, and then we snap back. So in a situation like this, there's two ways I'd trade this. Either gap up, higher the better, so maybe 580, 6s, ramp through 6, and look for failed follow through momentum, which would be a short side. Or I look for it to pull back and base at 550s, and in which case I'd like to join for a potential, ABCD type breakout, red to green. So those are the two moves that I would be prepared for in something like this. LOGI, it's kind of just came to a thesis to me. Just the other day, I don't know how it trades intraday. I'll be, watching to see if there's an opportunity. It looks like it's kind of a thin trader, but if it sets up, the thought process here is I just got a new computer and I was looking for another one of these webcam type Logitech things, and I went on Best Buy, I went on a lot of places, everywhere sold out. Let me know, notify me when it comes back in stock. So just like Zoom, just like everything else, all these work at home things, this could be one of those coronavirus type plays where, it could be like a Zoom and a TDOC type chart where it continues to go and breaks out. So I'm going to be watching to see if dips keep on getting absorbed. It might be a bigger picture idea. As you saw, the intraday is a little thin. So it's one of those where I'd probably risk versus 41. So if I was buying dips, I'd risk 41 for, 45 to 50 plus breakout. So risk 2 to make, maybe 5 to 10. So I want to see how it trades. You can see, obviously, this is a key level here at the 44s. So I'd be watching dips. If they keep on absorbing, I might be interested in joining that trade. And really, the thesis just came to me because I was looking for a camera and they're all sold out. So might be the lost sympathy trade. LVGO, this is a great alert by T530. You can see a nice clean setup. It's holding well in this market, so I'd basically be watching that 30 level. You can see peaked out here, peaked out here. Yeah, it went a little higher here, but for the most part, 30, even back here was your key level. So watch week opens, breakouts, bigger picture idea. Last but not least, a couple APT, after hours, big move again, staying familiar. Nothing that I can't wait to trade it on Monday. No, I know that there's going to be a trade here, so I want to see the chart every night, see where it's at, wait for some type of opportunity. Same thing, AMRN, great trade Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, great profit center. It's going to tighten up. The volume's going to be less. You're not going to be able to trade as much size, but we should have some type of opportunity, whether it be a rebound that fails or just continued unwind back, under 4. But we're going to have another opportunity. If I keep it on a radar and I stay familiar with it every day, I'm going to find that opportunity. But don't force the trade. And the same thing with Uber. Like to keep it on watch. It's been a great profit center. It fades well with the market. I look for reactive strength or relative strength, relative weakness versus, the underlying market, and look for opportunity from there. But it's been a really nice one as far as fading it. That was an idea earlier in the week. Basically looking to fade every single pop possible until we start to hold a base, and it's literally just gone straight down since. So that's all I've got for scan tonight. A little bit shorter than usual, just because, like I said, I'm familiar with all these charts. I'm going to have a game plan in the morning. I'm going to be, 3 to 4 main watches. But right now, your edge is flipping through charts. Go through the charts. Go through, see, where things are at. See if they're setting up again. Like TDOC and ZM. Zoom had a huge trade. You didn't need to get in front of it. You needed to wait for it to break key levels. So, a lot of times when it starts to go, and I see that it was hanging around, 145 this day, hanging around 145 that day, hanging around and then it broke out. Well, I want to know when it breaks 145 on the downside, and then 143, 140, because that's when it's going to be the backside. That's when we're going to get that flush to 115 like you saw. You don't need to be on the front side of the move to get it. So a lot of times the move happens on the backside after that initial crack. So that's it for tonight. If you guys have any questions, reach out. If you have been circling around, curious about Investors Underground, reach out to Cam at investorsunderground.com. He can answer any questions that you might have. As always, leave comments in the comment section. You guys did a great job last time with ideas for videos. A lot of it was like live trades. I put out a live trade last week. There's a lot of other great ideas that I've basically written down. And as I can, I will put out these videos for the YouTube channel for free. So as always, leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment, your biggest takeaway from Scan tonight. And again, any other ideas, just like last time, feel free to use the comment section for that. Sebastian Shipley, you're this week's winner. I have not been to the post office just because of all this stuff, so I'm going to figure out how to do it. Given the fact that my wife's pregnant, I'm not, I'm fine line for me. So I'm late on a lot of these things, so when I do ship them out, I'll throw a Momo Traders book in there and all that good stuff for the guys that have won the shirts in prior weeks. I just haven't gone out there unless I have to, including getting the delivery of groceries right to the doorstep, all that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna go out there. So at any rate, we will see you guys on Saturday. We're going to be doing a webinar soon as well for the members, probably the following week. But every single day we do, we have the Momentum Room, we have the Traders Lounge. So the Traders Lounge is exactly where, any new members that come in, that's where you go and you ask questions all day long. Worst case, I'm bogged down on a bunch of trades and I take 15, 30 minutes to reply. But most of the time it's not the case, and I'm always there. So again, see you guys Saturday as well. Reach out with any questions you might have. And again, if you have any questions about IU, Cam at investorsunderground.com, and he will take care of any questions. All right. Have a great weekend.